What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Work Knife Balance. We're going to be taking a look at a pretty sweet knife today. Before we get too far into that, I just want to go ahead and say thank you to anybody who's already liked and subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. You can also head over to Instagram and follow us at WorkKnifeBalance939. It's a great way to communicate with us. Let us know what you want to see and what you like. And if you send something in for us to do a review on like this, we'll go ahead and send you back a sticker and some swag just to say thank you for allowing us to create more content and bring some support to the channel, so we appreciate that. Without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and dive into this. This is a knife that is on loan to me from Steve Clare. This is the Monterey Bay Knives River Otter, and this thing is pretty awesome. I really like this. So Steve let me borrow this for the last couple weeks. I've carried it a couple times in pocket. It has quickly become one of my go-to carry knives that I've had here for a while. It's a kind of perfect size for my EDC. What I do every day, I work in a building, in an office area, so I don't have the luxury to be able to carry a lot of big knives sometimes. So this is kind of that perfect size for me. It's also aesthetically one of the more pleasing knives that I've been able to carry and hold and stuff. So we'll go ahead and do some quick measurements. We'll do some comparisons, and then I'll give you my impressions of the knife. So tip to tail, we are looking at about 6 3/4, 6.75. Blade length, we're looking about 3 inches with a cutting edge of about 2.8 inches. This is a Magnacut blade, and it says so. Let's see if we can get it right there, which is pretty cool. Magnacut is definitely a popular metal right now. It's kind of taken place as the top dog for 2023 into 2024. A lot of people are just looking for Magnacut and trying to find it, and if it's Magnacut and titanium like this is, they fly off the shelves. So yeah. A couple side-by-side comparisons. We're going to go ahead and pull the Devo Lush out here as well. Another great size comparison. A knife that I think some of y'all are going to have as well. Here's a smaller one. We're going to go ahead and do the Vosteed Mini Labrador. So it shows you something smaller, something pretty close in size. Let's see, we've got the Kaiser Veritas, put that down below. The Veritas is a little bit bigger, as you can see right there. And then last but not least, another one of my favorite blades, we've got the Pena Paramour up top there. So give you a couple side-by-side comparisons from some of my rotation, some knives that are out there that I think y'all have that are a little more popular as of recent, to give you some good side-by-side comparisons. I think one of the closest comparisons we had with that though was the Devo Lush. You can kind of see they both have a similar handle length and a similar blade length. The Lush does stick out just slightly longer on the blade length, but gives you a little bit really good side-by-side comparison. The other thing that's similar between these two, if you have the Lush, is they both have that flat back up top. So kind of gives you a decent kind of feel comparison too, knowing they're going to be similar in size. So with this River Otter, these come in at about $425. They are unavailable right now. Oops, they are unavailable right now through Monterey Bay Knives. You can put the little notify me when available, but typically there's going to be either a lottery for a couple of these on Monterey Bay, or there's going to be a drop where these disappear almost immediately. I did see one aftermarket on Blade Binge. I do not recommend purchasing it. The person who had it on there had it for like $650. These come $425. So if you really want it and you've got $650 extra, go ahead and buy it. I do think that's a little bit of a ludicrous price, just in my opinion, for this knife. So yeah, it is a titanium frame lock, so you've got the 2 slabs of titanium on either side. And I say slabs because as I'm looking in it, doesn't look to be any sort of internal milling for weight reduction or anything like that. So they are just like solid slabs of titanium on either side. And then you've got the Magnacut blade. You do have a really nice kind of sheep's foot Warncliffey blade coming on right here. I think it is technically more of a sheep's foot because you've got a little bit of a belly coming up. It's not a flat blade at the bottom. And then you have a nice swedge over here. It's a really aesthetically pleasing knife. with a really kind of like drawn out sheep's foot to give you more of a point, rather than something like this where it comes down super fast. And you still have a point, but there's a little bit more of a drop point to that knife right there, or to that point right there, but I would still classify this more as a sheep's foot. You have a swedge at the top here, and you do have the thumb studs for deployment. This thing is super snappy. It whips out really nice. You can reverse flick, you can thumb flick. It just feels good in hand, and it's really fun to play with. This knife does give me Sebenza feels. Looking at it, you can kind of tell that there is some Sebenza take to it. It definitely has the kind of just generic plain Jane handles to it. It has the kind of just one side clip here. The difference I'm gonna say is I am 95 to 99% sure this thing is running on bearings and not washers, which is why you're able to have that sweet easy action coming out, and you don't have to worry about having to like do the CRK rollout for this. You can still, as you saw, do a nice rollout for that if you want to, but it has such sweet snappy action you don't necessarily need to. So yeah. Ergos are really good. Does have that flat back, gives you just enough room to choke up here if you want to, or not choke up, to kind of get your hand up here if you want to. And there is some massive jimping on the backside here. The one thing I would say, and this is kind of a gripe with almost every knife I get, the jimping stops right here. I would love to see it up here where I'm actually going to use my thumb rather than down here. I'm not going to use that as much, and I've got more purchase area with obviously the handle scales there as well. So give me some jimping up here where it's actually a necessity for when I'm wearing gloves and need a little bit of extra. You've got a really nice blade stock, and I really like the fact that they stopped the swedge here, because then near the tip you actually have a thicker blade stock. So you can see where it kind of narrows out with the swedge and then thickens back up here. I think that gives you a little bit of extra stability, support, and strength in the blade. So if you're gonna do any sort of tip work, or if you, please don't, but if you do use your knife as a pry bar, you have a little bit more strength in that tip and hopefully protect it from any sort of break off or anything like that. Other than that, this is a fantastic EDC knife, really good size, really good carry. I don't have much else to say about it, but aesthetically it hits everything I want, and that's probably because I am a Sebenza fan. I have a large Sebenza, but I mean, if we look at these, you can definitely tell there was some sort of design, I would say, inspiration coming from the Sebenza when you look at this. They've got very similar aesthetics through and through. They've got very similar style through and through. The one thing Monteray Bay did a little bit differently is holding just the pivot as the anchor point up here and having the two standoffs down at the bottom rather than the one here and then the one up here. You don't necessarily need the second because you do have the pin on the inside, so you have a little bit more aesthetically pleasing because you don't have to worry about a bunch of hardware up here like you do on some of the Sebenzas, but it definitely gives you. I wish I had a small Sebenza, because I would say that's probably one of the closest side-by-side comparisons you're gonna get is a small Sebenza to this, but nonetheless, this is a fantastic knife. These are sold out. I will go ahead and put the link below for Monteray Bay Knives, the River Otter anyways, but don't expect to go there and find one because they're sold out on Monteray Bay Knives and they're pretty hard to find. So if you do find one and you want it and it's not $650, go ahead and pick one up for yourself. But yeah, they do start at $425, so with them being unavailable, you should expect to hopefully find them between $400 and $500. I wouldn't pay more than $500 for a used one of these. So yeah, until next time though, I keep hitting that right there, I'm trying to do something different. Until next time, TTFN. Thanks for watching.